I'm 97 years old, and the most expensive mistake I ever made wasn't losing money. It was giving it away. People come to me expecting wisdom about death, about making peace, about holding grandchildren and watching sunsets and all that beautiful nonsense. I'm going to tell you something different. I'm going to tell you what happens when you hand your children everything you saved while you're still breathing. What they say, what they do, and what they stop doing the moment the check clears. I had 6 children. I loved all 6. I gave 5 of them $40,000 each. 3 of them haven't called me in 2 years. You want to know what $40,000 buys? Stay right there. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, 7th of 9 children. My father worked at a printing press. My mother stretched a chicken 3 different ways across a week. Nobody talked about inheritance in our house because there was nothing to inherit. Only the lesson that you worked, you saved, and you did not complain about it out loud. I became a school teacher, 41 years in the classroom. I married a man named Joshua who fixed cars and never raised his voice. We were not rich. We were careful. There is a difference, and most people learn it too late. We saved the way our parents taught us, slowly, painfully, without drama. By the time I was in my late 80s, that savings had grown to something I never imagined possible when I was eating stretched chicken on Fridays. Then Joshua died, and everything I thought I understood about family got tested. It was March. Joshua had been gone 11 months. My daughter Renee drove 4 hours to sit with me. She was the second oldest, the organizer, the one who always brought a notepad to family dinners like she was chairing a meeting. We were sitting at my kitchen table. She had coffee. I had tea. She had that notepad. She said, "Mama, we've been thinking, you have more than you need, and we could all use a little help right now." I looked at her notepad. She had names on it, all 5 of them, with amounts next to each name. She had done the math before she drove 4 hours to see her grieving mother. I didn't say anything for a long moment. I looked at the notepad. I looked at her. I thought about Joshua, who used to say that money is just stored labor, that every dollar you have is an hour of your life you'll never get back. I thought about all those hours. Then I said, "Let me think on it." She smiled, like I'd already said yes. I should have paid attention to that smile. That smile told me everything I needed to know about what was coming. I just wasn't ready to read it yet. I spent 3 weeks thinking. I prayed on it. I called my youngest, Marcus, who is the only one who never asked me for anything in his life, and I asked him what he thought. He said, "Mama, once you give it, it's gone. Make sure you're giving it and not just buying something you can't name yet." I told him he was being dramatic. I wrote 5 checks. The moment you hand someone their inheritance, you become optional. The calls slowed down in August, not all at once. That would have been easier to name. It was gradual, like a faucet someone keeps turning, just slightly, every few days. You don't notice until you realize you're standing there with no water. Renee used to call every Sunday. Then it was every other Sunday. Then it was a text on my birthday that said, "Love you, Mama. Crazy busy over here." Crazy busy? She had just finished a kitchen renovation. I saw the pictures on her daughter's Facebook page. Marble countertops, a farmhouse sink. The kind of kitchen you buy when someone hands you $40,000 and your grief for your father lasts about as long as the check takes to clear. I didn't say that to anyone at the time. I'm saying it now. My son Gerald called me in October of that year, not to talk, to ask. He said, "Mama, I know you already gave us the money, but there's an opportunity, a business thing. And I was wondering if you had anything else set aside. I was standing in Joshua's old workshop when he called. I don't know why I was in there. I just ended up in there sometimes, the way you drift toward the places where someone used to be. I said, Gerald, I gave you what I gave you. He said, I know. I just thought, with the house and everything. I said, goodbye, Gerald. And I hung up. I stood in that workshop for a long time after. Joshua had a coffee can on the shelf where he kept old screws, bolts, things too small to throw away but too worn to trust with anything important. I thought about that can for a long time. I thought about how some people sort themselves into it, not all at once, but slowly, over a series of small decisions that you keep giving them chances to undo. Gerald didn't call back to apologize. He called back 3 weeks later, like the conversation had never happened, chatty as a man with nothing on his conscience. I answered, because he was still my son. But I heard him differently after that. When someone shows you who they become after the money, believe that version. My granddaughter set the table wrong. That's how it started, forks on the wrong side. I mentioned it, gently, I thought. And my daughter-in-law, Patricia, looked at me the way you look at something that has overstayed its welcome. There were 11 people in that house. My house. The house Joshua and I paid off in 1987. I felt like a guest. After dinner, I was in the back bedroom, the one I'd been sleeping in because Patricia had moved her crafting supplies into the master. And I heard them talking in the kitchen, not whispering. They weren't worried enough about me to whisper. Renee said, she's not going to last another 2 years. The doctor said her heart. My son David said, that's not the point. The point is the house. Renee said, I know the point. I sat on the edge of that bed. The comforter was one I'd had since 1994. Joshua picked it out, blue with a thin white stripe. I looked at that comforter, and I made myself stay very still and just listen. David said, Marcus is going to be a problem. Renee said, Marcus always thinks he's better than the situation. David said, she listens to him. Then Patricia said, to the one who set the table and looked at me like leftover furniture? Patricia said, then we need to be here more. That's all. Just be present. Be present. Not because their mother was 91 and alone and still sleeping under the comforter their father picked out. Because of the house. Because of whatever they thought might still be left. I called Marcus that night from the back bedroom with the door closed. I didn't tell him what I heard. I just said, I need you to find me a lawyer, a good one, not a family friend, a stranger. He said, Mama, what happened? I said, nothing happened. I just finally heard clearly. He flew in 4 days later. He didn't ask questions. He just came. That's the whole story about Marcus right there. He never needed money to show up. He just showed up. I redid everything in January. The house. What's left. All of it. David called in February, cheerful, asking about Easter plans. I answered. I was pleasant. I have always been pleasant. But you cannot unhear a conversation like that. You can forgive it. You can even understand it if you're generous. But it lives in you now, and it changes the temperature of every room they walk into. The ones who come around when you're dying and the ones who love you, those are not always the same people. I told you 3 stories. The kitchen table with the notepad, the workshop and the coffee can, the back bedroom and the conversation I was never supposed to hear. They feel like 3 different wounds. They're not. They're the same wound, looked at from 3 different angles. The obvious version of the lesson is this: don't give your money away early. And sure, fine. That's true. The way a speed limit is true, technically correct, not the whole picture. Here's the real version. I was never trying to give them money. I was trying to buy certainty. I was 89 years old, and Joshua was gone, and the world had gotten very quiet and very large, and I wanted to know, I needed to know, that they would stay close, that I had mattered, that 41 years of teaching other people's children and stretching $1 and saying nothing when I should have said something had added up to something that would hold. The money was never the point. The money was a question I was too afraid to ask out loud. Do you love me? Will you stay? Am I going to die alone in a house full of Joshua's things and nobody who remembers why I kept them? They answered, just not the way I hoped. And one of them, the one who never got a check, he answered too, quietly, by showing up with no reason to accept that I was his mother, and I called. What you're really afraid of losing is never the thing you're holding on to. Now I'm talking to you, not the you that clicked on this video because it was interesting. The other you, the one who's been watching this and doing the math on their own life. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm not like those kids. I would never. Maybe. I hope so. But let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. When did you last call your mother? Not text, not like a post. Call her and ask nothing and give her 20 minutes of your actual attention. When did you last visit your father without an agenda? Without the visit being attached to a holiday or an obligation or something you needed from him while you were there anyway? When did you last treat the oldest person who loves you like they had something to offer you? Not money, not a favor, just themselves? I'll wait. Here's what I know about the person watching this. You have someone in your life right now. A parent, a grandparent, an aunt who raised you when no one else would. And you have been meaning to call them. For weeks, maybe months. You have a reason. Work is real. The kids are real. The exhaustion is real. And they are sitting somewhere right now, in a quiet house, checking their phone. Not waiting for money. Just waiting. Here's what you don't understand yet, because you're not old enough to understand it yet. The call you don't make today becomes the call you wish you'd made at the funeral. And nobody stands at a graveside thinking, I'm glad I waited. Nobody. Not once. Not ever. So here is what I am telling you to do, and send a message, not after. Now. Call the person you just thought of when I said, the person you've been meaning to call. You know exactly who it is. Don't make it complicated. You don't need a reason. I was thinking about you is a complete sentence. And if you have children, if you are the parent, the grandparent, the one doing the giving, I am talking to you too. Stop trying to purchase love with early inheritance checks or loans that never get repaid, or favors that slowly cost you everything. See, you cannot buy what you're looking for. And if you have to buy it, you didn't get it. Ask the real question, out loud, to someone who's earned the right to hear it. The worst thing they can do is answer honestly, and honestly is the only answer worth having. Do it today. Today. Not when things slow down. Today. Before I keep going, I need to stop for just a moment, because what I've been describing, the slow, quiet way that people position themselves around you, the helpful decisions that aren't really yours anymore, the moment you realize something's already gone, that is not just my story. It's a pattern I didn't have the words for until very recently. I came across a resource that mirrors my experience so perfectly, I wish I'd had it decades ago. It's a book written by a woman named Samantha Terry. She's 99 years old, and she spent her life watching this happen to smart, strong, capable people. and she finally wrote down everything we should have known before it started. The book is called I'm 99. This is what no one tells you after 60. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, another book, another list of things to worry about. But I read what others said after they found it, and it stayed with me. One man, Nathaniel, said, "This is the book I wish my mother had read 10 years ago. It would have changed everything." Think about that. 10 years ago. That family watched it happen slowly, over a decade, and by the time they found this guide, there was nothing left to protect. Another reader mentioned that they thought they were prepared, but they weren't even close, saying that Chapter 3 alone was worth the time. What I love about it is that it isn't a lecture. It's more like a toolbox. It has checklists you can start in 5 minutes and word-for-word scripts for the conversations that are too hard to have on your own. It shows you the exact signs, the early ones, the quiet ones, that someone is slowly positioning themselves to take over your life. I wish I had read it before I wrote those 5 checks. If you're watching on a phone or a computer, I've asked to have the link placed right below this video so you can find it easily. If you're watching on a TV, there should be a QR code on your screen right now. You can just scan it with your phone. It only takes a few seconds. Please go look at it. Then come back. Because what I'm about to tell you next, you really need to hear it. I'm 97 years old. I live in a small house. I have one child who calls me every few days, not because he has to, not because there's anything left to inherit, but because he is a good man, and I raised him, and that turned out to be enough. The other 4 call when they call. I answer when I answer. I love them the way you love weather. You didn't choose it, you can't change it, and you've made peace with the fact that it doesn't arrange itself around your comfort. Joshua has been gone 6 years. I still sleep under his comforter. Blue with a thin white stripe. I still find his handwriting on things. The back of an envelope, a grocery list in a drawer. And it still stops me cold. That's what love looks like when nobody was keeping score. I don't know how much time I have left. Nobody does, at any age. That's the lie the young tell themselves. That death is a thing that happens later. It doesn't happen later. It happens when it happens. And the only question is what you were doing with the time directly before it. If this video found you today, it found you for a reason. Go be the Marcus in someone's life. Not the one who got the check, the one who got the call, the ones who show up for no reason. Those are the ones who love you.